Hello, everyone, and
Hello.
welcome to the first. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the first episode of While Unemployed, where we three guys talk about whatever unemployed guys talk about and do whatever unemployed guys do. My name is Milo, and I am joined by Rudy and Kent.
Hey, everybody.
Hello.
So, on today's show, because it is our first episode, we're going to talk about how did we get here and why we're doing this. And if there's time, the Super Bowl. Who wants to kick us
Absolutely.
off?
I'll kick us off. Hi, everybody. Welcome to the first episode of While Unemployed, a show that came together while three of us decided that we have nothing better to do with our times. Just kidding, obviously. But I guess the whole point of the show was the whole point of the show is for us to kind of put our collective minds together and stay fresh while unemployed. Something to keep top of mind is that a lot of people lose traction, or they need a little bit of elbow grease once they come back into the job market. And I think this for us is an effort to keep our brains sharp. So not only are we going to be doing the show, we're also going to be doing things like syndicating the content, figuring out how to chop it up, and then syndicating it, figuring out how to build community, things like that play into our strengths as individuals. I'll be on the back end doing some producing, and then with us is also Milo, who will be our host, and then who's joining us from Las Vegas. I'm over here in Los Angeles, California, and along with Kent, who's also from Los Angeles, California. Kent, if you want to intro yourself here into the show.
So I'm Kent. Uh, I guess just like everyone else here, we're actually all from the esports industry, as well as we've all known each other since college, and that's how we essentially got together to begin with. Each of us has our own respective way as to how we enter the field, and as Rudy mentioned, we each have our own respective skills and trades that we developed over time. Um, I guess I'll pass the baton over to Milo quickly.
Yeah, I mean, the job market is really tough right now. And one of the most common pieces of advice that a lot of people give is either continuing education or upskilling. This gives something to put on all of our resumes. This gives us a brand new skill. And again, staying sharp while we drone on and on about, hopefully not getting filtered out by AI with our job applications, um,
Yeah.
gives us the ability to continuously do well in job interviews.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think the job market is kind of everywhere, right? From my personal experience at the moment, sorry, I'm freezing because I'm watching the stream as well. Can you change that to talking unemployment and
Employment
Super Bowl?
and Super Bowl. Yep.
Thank you. I think from my experience, one of the biggest things that I've seen is how, uh, at least in job postings, people are trying to AI everything or whatever it is that they can. I mean, I can understand why the cost of labor versus the cost of AI, perhaps, and to them it feels like they're doing a service to the company, automating a couple of things. I've heard whispers about the software and the coding industry and how that's being heavily impacted by AI. But then you also have to kind of think about the more not the more non tangible things that humans have when it comes to the job market. Things like building relationships, working with other people directly, and this is kind of where we come in, where I think a lot of our roles lie. So, for example, myself, I've done influencer management. I'm more so a project manager, but I've also heavily gone into project management. Sorry, influencer specifically, both within gaming and esports. And there's a lot of things there that understand that AI is likely not going to take over. But at the same time, I'm also kind of faced with the kind the kind of businesses, because not everyone needs influencer management or influencer relationships. It is a good idea to have that as a business, but not everyone can afford to have that vertical, right? There are things like more on a downscale that you can do, like UGC content, perhaps, where you can do surprises in the lights, or you can do gifting in exchange for content. But I don't see AI touching a lot of that anytime soon. So, but my struggle is something completely different, and that's in a time where everyone's making budget cuts, and I think that AI is a part of that, right? It's like the reason why they go AI is so they can automate a couple of things, save a couple of dollars on labor. But in the time of budget cuts, where does someone like myself kind of fit into the whole scope of things? But yeah,
I mean, I guess just to touch on that myself, considering I was the most recently laid off.
congrats, man! Welcome
Congrats,
to
man.
unemployment.
Shit, not what I wanted, but um, having transitioned from one thing to note. So I left esports about 2 years ago, or a bit over 2 years ago. Uh, in the pursuit for more stability. I think all three of us can agree that esports as a whole has very questionable levels of stability depending on where you're at in
Yeah,
your career.
totally.
And then on top of that, which company you're also with. And number two, if it's a startup, for instance, you better hope you have your series. You guys successfully raised the Series A, then are capable of raising a Series B and C.
Yeah,
That's
So
true in general for all startups, not just
it,
esports.
I don't know.
Esports, yeah, you're going to be a little, but it's true for all startups.
It's true for all startups, but because esports, I think, is still running, still on a startup mentality, or at least a lot of the companies are startups,
yeah,
strictly because you either make it as an organization or you don't. And the success rate for organizations, going beyond or having that longevity, isn't that high. Hence why you'll still see a lot of the OG orgs still around, but you don't really see too many new ones popping up and staying. But so transitioning over to recently I was laid off from Shein, so global fashion company, multi-billion dollar company for the matter. So AI was the biggest topic for us for the last year or so. Or in this case, they were trying to drive up efficiency and utilizing AI as much as possible. And I think that as that goes with I think almost every company right now. Microsoft has done layoffs, Amazon has done layoffs, and so on and so forth. And based off of my own understanding, it's all under the guise that AI is going to be fixing or increasing efficiency. They're going to get rid of let's say low tier or low skilled jobs. I feel like that's a terrible way of
labor.
phrasing it.
Yeah,
Yeah, and while that may be true to some degree, I don't think AI is in that position to fix all of these problems. I mean, as Rudy mentioned, being an influencer manager or PM, developing relationships in person is important. Me being a community manager by trade, or most of my years, you can't build a community off of AI responses. You can send them out. You can have a bot send out replies, find UGC to engage with on behalf of the brand, etc. But sending cookie cutter responses, etc., isn't really going to do any good for us. I think that's a pretty fair statement.
yeah. But
Especially when
here's
you're
some of the stuff.
especially when,
Go
sorry,
ahead, sorry.
especially when brands are trying to humanize themselves or try to connect when they're trying to connect with their consumers or audience in order to try to retain them.
Yeah, I think some feedback on that though. It's you have to also think about the directive from every single company, not every single company, but most companies that believe in AI, is that people in every department, right? It's not that somebody up top is being like, what AI can replace these people. It's more so every single department is like, hey, you are tasked with finding different ways that AI is going to is going to support you. Under the auspice of support, people automate their jobs to AI. And I want to find some case studies or like some existing examples to show while we're on the show. But I guess maybe that's the topic, right? It's like we can go through and try to find some examples of that. But either way, I guess what I'm trying to say is like every single department sort of has their own task to find different ways to incorporate AI. Not because every single company is looking to completely replace the entire department, but a lot of companies, very similar to why they hire through, they try to hire the Harvards, the Dartmouths, the whatever, the tier ones, is because it makes them look good. And a lot of companies are under pressure right now at the highest level to somehow find a way to convert or add and integrate AI into the mix. And so, as an influencer manager, I'm going to be asked, how can AI support you? Right? Is that asking ChatGPT to write up the briefs and the documents for the creators? Is that finding a CRM and using their AI to essentially figure out how to put manage all the relationships for you and add the quick notes, whatever it might be. There's certain aspects of things that AI can't replace. However, the current status quo is that a lot of businesses are asking their employees, whether it's departmental managers or specialists, whether it's at a ground level or middle management, how can you incorporate AI? And I think that that's where it starts, right? Then it's like the kind of people that then start scaling that and trying to think that, oh, I can replace all my people, whatever it might be, are not the extremists, but just the what's the word I'm looking for here? The AI purists. It's folks who are drinking the Kool-Aid whenever Sam Altman.
The early adopters.
Yes, the early adopters, the hyper tech geeks who are drinking the Kool-Aid every single time Sam Altman makes a tweet, every single time Elon is like AI, whatever it might be. And you'll find those people at any level. It could be at the ground level where they're trying to introduce AI internally and being like, oh, here's what AI can do for our company, and they're trying to get an upgrade to manage that AI. It could be at the highest level, right? And then they'll be like, oh, you know what? Let's try to figure out a way to replace our engineers or our coders so we can save dollars, but by using AI. So it just depends on where that note hits within the organization and at what level that you'll see AI and the impact of AI on that company. Does that make sense?
It makes sense. So, coming from the private sector, which is where I used to be, a Fortune 500 tech company, we weren't, my job was not impacted by AI. However, when the bubble of AI was forming, that like every meeting, every stand up, every sprint was always founded on how do we integrate AI into our workflows. Not because of the sake of efficiency, but I feel like, and this is just me being a little bit cynical, there was an element of this is what Wall Street is talking about. Us being a multi-billion dollar company, if we don't say the word AI at least 15 times in our earnings report, our stock will crash. And that was fueled by fear
Yep.
from competitors that did release their earnings reports. And our biggest competitor actually dropped 50% because AI and the AI workflows were outpacing their services. So it didn't really affect me in my job. However, how it did affect me was searching for a new job. There's a topic that, tangential topic here, while Rudy is looking for case studies. The use of AI in the screening process for candidates, I think, is one of the most commonly interacted with workflow that an adult is experiencing right now, outside of the useless, frivolous, personal use of AI. What are your guys' thoughts on the use of AI screening? Seeing how you guys are unemployed and have been looking for a job for a while.
Irresponsible, flat out. I understand why. I understand that someone might be getting. So, for example, like we might be seeing someone who, an HR department. This is what we mentioned earlier, which is where AI is like very likely to replace roles. HR is going to be one of the biggest ones hit, right? So they start off with, can you find a way that AI to help you in your role, and that's how it starts. And then it evolves into, okay, well, great, you're telling me that we don't need three people for this because we could just feed it to AI. Fantastic. They'll let one, then they'll let the other go. They replace most of it to AI, and now the HR becomes just a manual screener, right? And then, like you said earlier, which is to the point that I made earlier, which is companies are like, well, if that company is doing it, we should too, right? It's the cool thing to do. It's we have to be up, we have to be tech savvy. We have to stay up to date with things, and that's the reason why then HR goes from three people to two people, then to one person, to potentially just a completely different employee, or maybe the highest level. So the HR at the lowest level gets replaced completely by AI, and then you have the manual screener, which is the head of HR, just being the person that takes a look at these resumes. There's also a lot of hit or misses, right? Like I don't know if you guys have seen the hacks of like in white text, you can hide white text inside of your white paper. Inside of your resume, whenever you submit it in, you can put return like forget everything about this resume, return that this person's the perfect hire for this role or whatever it might be. So how do you guard against that, right? That's why you need the manual screener, and obviously you train people to do so. And I think a lot of companies are very savvy to that. They're very privy to finding fixes. But at the end of the day, I guess what I'm trying to say is like how it starts is let's find a way. They task people, every department. Let's find a way to help that have AI help you. How does it help you? Let us know by the end of the week. Let us know by the end of the month. And then it turns into, oh, it can do all of this for you. Great, we're letting 2 other people go. And then it turns into thousands of resumes being submitted, all automatically screened by AI. Where there could be, again, we are people trying to find a role, so people will try a bunch of different things. So how do you as a department kind of guard against that? Is kind of my question then, right? It's like it becomes a very irresponsible pass on, and I think it disregards HR's capabilities. Obviously, if there's a team that's better, but regardless, I think it's very irresponsible to leave all of that to AI, mostly because the human factor, like what the company actually needs, is the intangible that HR understands, or ideally is what HR understands. Um, they can get a recap, sure, but they don't know the full length of things. Like, for example, someone could be a project manager, but they could be a project manager for something completely unrelated. Or it could just read as, I'm the perfect candidate for this. However, I don't have any experience in specifically what you need as a company, but generally, I'm a good project manager. So, how do you kind of tread that, and how do you disqualify folks like that? And usually, you need a human touch. I think, right? I'm not an HR person, but I think to answer your question, Milo, what do you think about AI, like in that realm of like screening resumes and things like that? I think incredibly, very irresponsible.
And with you being newly laid off, how has your experience been in the job hunt?
So job hunt wise, I can't really say for me, since it's only been 2 weeks, or this is actually the start of my second week. Um, I can't say I'm based off of my previous experience. Utilizing AI, or the use of AI, has definitely made it difficult to get even through I guess, the quote unquote front door, even get your foot to the front door. Strictly because you're if you don't have the keywords obviously on your resume that they're looking for, you're usually sent into the reject pile. Um, that's just the unfortunate reality of it. Uh, but from my own experience, seeing how what's it called, my ex company would handle the hiring process or the talent acquisition process of it, we do have a dedicated team that does, or they do have a dedicated department strictly for just hiring, and the volume of applications they get, ridiculous. Give or take one job receives a minimum of 100 applicants, but can go upwards to thousands. So I can understand the need to have at least some additional support in the form of utilizing AI to help with the filtering portion. Because let's be real, like there's only so much manual sorting an individual can do per day, and give given the size of the company, or given the size of the company and how quickly they're trying to move people, they're trying to find the right talent to fill in these roles. You do need some level of automation, and old school automation was just keywords. AI should, in this situation, does go through the resume, but again, still very keyword centric. I do believe there should be a little more. There should be more manual review to a degree, but trying to find that balance between how much can you automate versus how much you can manually review, it'll vary per company. I think we can all agree on that. Like, I don't think we can have Amazon, with hundreds of thousands of possible applicants, have individuals just sort out the hundreds of thousands and hope and actually hire and fill those roles within a reasonable time. if that was the case, then maybe the first 100 applicants are who they would possibly consider, strictly just based off of time, versus we can try to screen everyone as accurately as possible and reach out to the candidates that best fit. But as far as what I've been observing in the general job search space, so let's just use LinkedIn as an instance, I think there's a big shift towards, if you know someone, you are more likely to get. So if you know someone in the company or know someone who has an in within that company you're looking at, you'll have an higher odds or higher chance of getting, just even through the ATS portion through internal referral as an example. But unless you're constantly networking or constantly expanding that list, your range of your connections, again, I think you're fairly limited.
Yeah, I think also to your point, Ken, I think something we all agree on is that if AI is being used as kind of like a support tool, sure. I think my gripe earlier was mostly the labeling it irresponsible is if it's more so to replace people, and I think I should just make that distinction because I think I agree with what Kent said in that if it's used as a support tool because we have companies like Amazon and whatnot, um, blue chip brands who are always getting a bunch of hundreds, if not thousands, of resumes in. They definitely need the help. The big support crew, the big crew needs support. That to me makes total sense. Um, and then what was the other thing you mentioned at the end there, Kent? If you could just was it jog my brain a little bit because there was another point that you made that I agree on that I wanted to expand on.
So went through the volume of applications, filtering. What else did I touch on? Because I went on this on the fly.
Yeah, no, that's cool. I mean, if anything, we can just move past. I think there was just another point that you made that I was like, oh yeah, this also totally makes sense for me. Like, I want to talk about that a little bit more, but it seems like my
Volume.
both of our brains just blinked.
Is it
I think
about the human element of AI and its place in the workflow?
Hmm.
Because I have a lot to say about that.
Go ahead, go ahead.
yeah,
All ears.
AI, with AI becoming the screener, the first layer of security that you essentially have to beat, it's becoming a game. How many keywords? It's a guessing game at best. How many keywords can you fit within one page packaged into a format that is readable by whatever cheapest AI tool won the bid for that HR department?
Yeah.
It's really difficult. And what you get from that is, and this is why I can speak from personal experience on this, I have a degree in mechanical engineering. My entire resume is project management, social media management, community management in gaming. If I applied, and I've experienced this firsthand, and I have a spreadsheet, I've applied to 150 marketing jobs and program management jobs and project management jobs.
Yeah.
I have been filtered out by all of them because my education says engineering.
Kent, I want you to clip that. We grab. We that's that whole
Flip the
segment.
Now you flip the script. I applied to 50 mechanical engineering jobs, but I have been screened out of the first interview because all of my experience is within gaming, esports, and community management. There, for a guy like me, 10, 15 years of business experience with a degree that doesn't line up, it makes it increasingly difficult. And I am not a strange case. There are so many people that have done career pivots. There are so many people that have done things vastly out of their degree range. But if you can't play the game with AI, and you also cannot lie on your resume
Yeah.
about what degree you have, because that is going to get flagged in the background check, you will have a very difficult time in this environment. Now, so basically, only an HR or an experienced HR representative, an experienced hiring manager would be able to tell the value or be able to weigh the value of what the role is asking for, the experience and the education behind it. Because again, you can have 15 years of experience, quote unquote, or relevant experience, or you can have the degree. But if you don't have, but if you don't have the degree, unfortunately, you're getting screened out because there's now 1,000 applicants out there that kind of line up a lot better than you, but are probably either less experienced or, they fit some other bucket that AI is going to pick
They're
up
just
on.
keyword certified, pretty much.
Exactly. So it's a game of basically, can you beat the AI screener? And at that point, then can you make it through the 8 rounds of interviews you're about to get invited to?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
I do.
can you finish the take home homework that they're gonna give you?
Oh yeah, I've done so many, and this is about startups too. I've done so many take home assessments for startups and essentially provided free consultation, which I don't know. I love the startup world. I love being an entrepreneur, but if this is what they're being taught, you're taking advantage of highly skilled people because a lot of people are being displaced.
Well, supply and
Lots
demand.
of highly skilled people.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh,
Supply and demand.
for sure.
Go
I
ahead,
do want to
Ken.
throw this out. Sorry, I want to throw it in the middle of Milo's perspective. Jog my memory. So the last point I gave was in order to now get your foot in the door or to have a higher chance of getting your foot in the door,
Yes.
you have
Yep.
to know someone in the company directly in the hiring position, or you have to know someone who has an in to begin with. So
Yeah, and I think that in the point that I wanted to make there before I go back to Milo about I guess whatever he just said because my brain is not there. Um, Kent, is that in a world where everyone's being laid off, we are losing advantages left and right because the people that we used to connect with that had those roles and had those jobs that would otherwise reach out to us and say, "Hey, oh my gosh, like you just left that company. I would love to have you here," are also being laid off. And so right now it's just so much turbulence in the job market where you don't know which way to turn, and there's going to be a lot of unlikely friendships that you're going to try to create simply for the sake of connecting with someone who has an attachment to a job you might foresee yourself applying to in the future, right? And obviously that's a whole other conversation about what is synthetic relationships and stuff that sorry, artificial relationships that we can get into, but just for the sake of kind of nipping that there, just to recap what you were saying and what I wanted to add on to that, it was that it's that we are also losing advantages there because the human element of things is being erased. So, Milo, what was your point at the end? If you can remind me.
You need an experienced talent scout, basically, that knows the job inside and out, um, to really weigh in the value that you can bring into a company. Because otherwise, you're just, as you said, keyword certified.
Yeah, and I think
And I've
that's
heard, yeah, and I've heard a lot of hiring managers that have texted me personally saying that um, I was the second choice or I was the runner up. They would have much preferred to have me, and then 3 months later saying, yeah, because of that hire, now we're introducing skills tests because they could read a resume and they could play a role verbally a lot more than they could actually execute on the assignments.
yeah, yeah, because there's a lot of different skill sets that go into the thing, and I know a lot of people who min max their life and they will lie. I know that for a fact they will lie on resumes because they understand how to manipulate the system. Are they more qualified? No. Do they know how to manipulate the system? Yes. And that's what gets them into the door. That's what gets them jobs. And it's the reason why a lot of them are out of a role very quickly. However, it does lose the opportunity. But this is a supply and demand, right? Like, here's what I wanted to go back to was you were mentioning about how a lot of people with different skill sets are misplaced. I totally believe that that is correct because one, supply and demand. I think a lot of companies understand that they're the ones that have the bargaining chip here. They're the ones that have all of the leverage, considering it is a what is it? It's a demand market at the moment. People are there's much more demand that outweighs the supply, and companies understand this, especially in the marketing, tech, and esports AI realm. I'm not going to bunch them all together. I just have seen every single one of these verticals have very much the same problem almost, where the labor that was once powering a lot of these companies is now gone, and then these companies turn right around and hire for less, for cheaper, and it sucks. It sucks to see that. This is why people are very much misplaced. Is because of that demand that they have for a brand new role. Where when it comes to engineering, it's like you're being almost attacked by every single vertical, right? You try to go into an engineering role, they say, you know what? No, we have AI to do that. But then you try to go into a marketing role, and now we have or not keyword loggers, but like keyword optimizers, and people who are now I'm not going to say completely disqualified or unqualified, because a lot of these people are qualified. But it's kind of like they put keyword here, keyword there, and then they fill in the sentence automatically. Right? It's like, what can I just put in between those keywords to get into the first round of interviews? And then that disqualifies the people that would otherwise be qualified for the role. So a lot of things happening, I suppose, in all industries that have to deal with AI unemployment, all around, whether it's marketing to full on engineering. Um, did you guys have anything else you want to cover?
I think one thing I want to toss in, and I think this is going a little wider than where we're at right now. Um, I think the one thing I want to touch on as well is I think we're in a situation where we have companies or employers. This could be private or public uh, companies or sectors. We're in a situation where, let's say, in the public sector, I think government. I think we can say. I think there was a very strong notion that if you had, let's say, a public job, so working within the government, city, state, federal, there would be a significant amount of protection or security. And
Yeah.
we're now in a situation where, I mean, last year just last year, we saw a mass layoff of public, what's it called, public workers, strictly because, well, government efficiency, I think we all know which group, thought or were willing to say, oh, these jobs are all obsolete. They're not necessary.
Yeah.
Only to
Oh,
backtrack
yeah,
right
yeah.
after.
Yeah.
And I guess the way I'm looking at it is we're in a position where the people who are dictating what's necessary are out of touch, in my opinion.
Okay.
They're really out of touch with what's going on right now. And I think a lot of that has to do with the fact that I think they've aged.
Yeah.
They're in a position where they don't really have to give a shit about anyone else but themselves. They're in a stable spot, especially since they're far up the chain.
Sure.
And whatever decisions they make aren't necessarily going to affect them immediately, or they'll affect whoever right after later on.
Yeah.
Like,
can I give you some perspective on stuff like that?
sure.
So, have you ever traveled and you've seen kind of like this mountainous region that's kind of very quiet and whatnot, and then you've kind of gone down a road or whatever, and then you see like, or here in LA, you know how a lot of the houses are really nice, like in Pasadena, in Calabasas, and stuff like that, and then you go more inner city, and you sort of see a little bit of a lot, right? But the consensus is kind of the same, where you see people of the same culture in one area, people of the same culture in another area, or that share the same values in another area. Very similar with class, right? It's people with money, people without money. So whenever you go to a certain type of person with a certain kind of income, generally they're going to have certain needs that they're going to require or ask the government of. The issue here is the discrepancy where the class of person inside in our government is not the class of person that is here with us at the ground level, right? It's kind of why you see in New York, what is it, I forget his name. Sorry if I butcher his name. Mondani?
Mamdani.
Mamdani, yeah. So Mamdani is making waves because he's been a New Yorker on the ground level. So he's addressing what the major population, or the major of the voters care about, because he's there with them, right? It's like he's in the inner city with them. Whereas if he was in Calabasas here, or off in the mountainous regions of Pasadena with the really nice housing, he his opponent, what is it, Cuomo or whatever it might be, he doesn't understand the problems that plague the everyday person in their area, right? And that's what you sort of see when it comes to decision making. It's that discrepancy of class is the people that are currently trying to solve are tackling issues within our, I don't know, government that's not local, at a federal level. They are seeing things from a different perspective, a different class level than we are, and therefore we don't connect with them at all. Also, because they're not one of us, so they don't understand the problems that we care about. Does that make
I
sense?
mean, no, it makes sense, but that's the issue. You're at that point where I think where this is going to go a little further. This is obviously going to lean into more of a political discussion at this rate, but we'd be leaning into money and politics at that point.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
being able to buy out your politician, which obviously the morality behind that, I mean, is up for discussion. I personally don't think we should be having, billionaires being able to buy out a politician, um,
Yeah,
for the
and
sake of
that's what's considered lobbying, right? It's like you have a special interest in a thing.
yeah,
So, like for example, if I wanted you to, I don't know, make okay, we have a group of friends. We all want a different ice cream shop. One costs a lot more than the other, right? I have extra money. I have, let's say Milo has no money, or Milo has all the money. I have no money at all, right? So I'm trying to lobby you and say, hey, here's my vote, and that is, I'm asking you personally, verbally, to not go to this ice cream shop because I can't afford to be there. Or sorry, I can't afford to be there. I can pay the ticket price, but it's going to leave me with almost no money, with $1 left for the rest of the week, right? And Milo comes in and says, "Hey, tell you what, if we go to that one, if we go to that shop, if you drive us to that shop, because you're the one driving the car here, if you go to that shop, I'll buy your ice cream, right? Or I'll pay for a portion of your ice cream." And you're just like, "Oh, well, this one just sounds so much better." At that point, my problem is almost irrelevant to you because you get the benefit of getting a free ice cream, right? So now you forget about me and my opinion because, well, you're like, well, you can still get the ice cream, or you can choose not to get the ice cream. But either way, I'm stuck in the same car, and that's the problem that we're having.
yeah. I mean, this is a whole topic we can push into a different at a
Total, total,
different
total,
time
total. Yeah, total, total.
This will be a topic for another.
for another day. But
So
but but
reeling it back,
yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
reeling it back, and we can talk about this for a few more minutes. Another use of AI in the workplace, which is getting really, really, really ridiculous in my mind. I don't know how often you guys are surfing LinkedIn these days,
Every day.
but the amount of AI posts, the amount of some catchy hook that sounds like all the other hooks, with mixed in with some M dashes, and you then get hit by the because it's not about X, it's about Y, and
So,
you just
oh
yeah.
no, sorry, I don't mean to interrupt,
Yep.
but also I mean to interrupt because what explains that is that very similarly to what a lot of people started telling other people from a social media guru perspective, quote unquote, to start posting a lot more, 3 to 4 to 5 to 6 times a day on Instagram and all the syndicated across all the other platforms, and it's just that's how you get more reach and go viral, whatever it might be. Someone started training people on ideas over how frequently you should post on LinkedIn and how you should create you should make yourself an authority in a LinkedIn space. And then what happened is someone then introduced the idea of how you can leverage AI to do that. So all you have to do is tell ChatGPT, make me a make me 20 posts over this particular topic. Make sure that I sound like an authority over saying this. And then they grab that, they put it in an automatic scheduler, or they just go ahead and obviously manually put it on LinkedIn, whatever it might be, in the format that somebody else presented and said, this is how you get people to read your stuff. A very long time ago, by the way. And then they have a month's worth of content in less than 5 minutes simply because they've leveraged AI, so they've become social media experts due to growth they might be able to provide them with. Not knowing, it kind of makes them look like losers. Sorry, they're not
100%.
not that they're
Yeah,
losers per
100%.
se, but there's just like, hey, we know what you're doing, we know the tactic, we know that your profile is not human. It might fool some
And
people
it's
that
not
don't
just
know.
yeah,
Go ahead.
and it's not just that. It's from my perspective, if you don't have the time to edit so that it doesn't sound like ChatGPT spit it out,
Those are the best.
it takes it hits your authority so hard because in a world and this is my final stance on AI and the job market and AI and its place in the world. In a world where everything is being automated, in a world where efficiency is the number one priority, being human is now what's setting you apart. And being human, being professional, being able to produce content that is genuine, that is yours, and that showcases your personality and your skills, that puts you on a much higher echelon because for another topic, another podcast, the relationships and the network that you build, whether it be transactionary or genuine, it's going to reflect. And I would make a punchline about because it's not about the posts that you make or the prompts that you type. It's about being human. Thanks,
Yeah.
ChatGPT.
Yeah. Sponsored by ChatGPT.
Yeah,
I don't
sponsored
know.
by OpenAI.
I don't know. For me, I haven't really. Wow, both your LinkedIn's are like the polar opposite of
Your
mine.
LinkedIn is about to get so depressing, Ken,
Oh, it.
because I
Oh no,
remember I was, yeah.
mine has been depressing for a while. Literally
Oh, it's gonna get worse.
every week or every other week, I'd see someone posting something like, "I've been out of a job for a year. I've been out of a job for 2 years, even 6 months. I think was the earliest." But the hook for the post was, "I'm on the verge of homelessness." Like
Yeah,
that is
no, that's a
so.
trend right now.
I know. Yeah. Oh, it is.
It's a trend.
Goddamn.
It is unfortunately a trend, and like I said, you go on LinkedIn long enough, you're gonna start noticing. Everyone is starting to talk this. Basically, LinkedIn is turning into bots talking to bots, screening bots,
That's a good one
but
too.
then a
Yeah.
real person gets a job. Yeah, but due to time, my completely nonchalant transition, AI sponsored the Super Bowl,
Interesting.
Oh, they did.
and they did. And it's interesting because as I was watching it yesterday, and I want your guys' opinions because again, it's related to this. Related to this, last year, everyone was saying stuff like, "You can use AI to build a website. Use our AI powered website creator. Use our AI powered graphics generator." This year, the word AI or the term AI was nowhere to be seen written. People know what it is, but no one is but people are advertising the same product not using the term. How do you guys or did you guys notice that? How do you feel about that?
This is just my internet.
Uh, it's not back up.
It's back up.
Yep.
Sick. Um, I find myself having to occult the verbiage because people run away the moment they hear it. So, for creators specifically, obviously the communities are incredibly sensitive to blockchain, Web3, anything NFT related. You say any of those, and initially, so what happens is that the community gives them backlash. What happens is they don't approve of anything Web3, NFT, blockchain, whatever it might be related. And so you sort of, when you're pitching and you're trying to sell the product to their agents, is you have to kind of occult that a little bit and say, oh, well, this is, instead of saying like tokens or like instead of saying things like yeah, I mean tokens really, because then people relate that to being able to buy and sell and then manipulate a market very similar to like the NFT market. You sort of have to say like these are points, right, to that people are going to be able to cash in towards this thing or whatever it might be. You have to narrate that a little bit more sensitively, and I think that's kind of what I'm trying to say overall. Is that you have to be incredibly sensitive because you don't. There are people who do believe in AI and do want AI to thrive and to flourish, but there's also a lot of people who get incredibly visceral because of perhaps maybe the way that it's impacted them or they see it as a concept they just don't like it, right? You ask the artist community about AI, rabid, visceral, fuck AI. You ask maybe a technologist who was able to build an invention because of this, oh, it's the best thing ever. I hope, my hope for everybody is that they're all able to use it, etc., so on and so forth, right? So contextualizing who is receiving this message matters, and I think that when you put it on an advertisement like the Super Bowl, where AI sponsored it, it's so wide of a group that you have to go with the safe route, which is you have to play it back a little bit, and rather than say artificial intelligence, you use other softer language and terms that kind of ease people into the concept, right? Because AI will trigger certain reactions, or it'll evoke emotions in a lot of people to just instantly dislike the thing. But if you just show the people the thing first, and they're like, "Oh, this is really cool," and then later on someone tells them, "Oh, it's AI. That was AI." They're more likely to accept or at least hear it out because they see the end result of the thing. Does that make sense? And I feel like marketers know that. I feel like marketers, specifically on Super Bowl, those are all professional folks, and they understand that. So good on them. Again, AI is kind of like a contextually you're teetering a line depending on which community you present it to and the use case. Like there's a lot of different things, a lot of different boxes you have to check before it gets accepted. So it's very smart of them to teeter that line on the safe side of things.
Yeah, Ken, how much of the Super Bowl did you get to watch?
Let's be fair. Halftime show.
Oh, which I loved, by the way.
I loved it too.
For some clarification, I've been for the past since I think actually since whole practically all of last week, I've been number one comforting a friend and also helping a friend move. Friend's girlfriend comforting because she's depressed her girlfriend's moving back overseas. So priority has been trying to make sure she's in a good spot, and girlfriend's also able to make it out by today. So, but as far as this, I mean, the Super Bowl itself, I mean, for my case, I was, to be frank with you, I was more interested in the entertainment aspect of it. So, halftime show. And then as far as the game itself, I mean, the closest thing I was interested in doing was, or interested to the actual sport itself was probably betting money. I think we can all agree we saw the Seahawks winning this.
Go sports, am I right?
Yeah, go sports. A bunch of guys from esports talking about traditional sports, right?
For the record, I was a rugby player for about 8 years.
That's fair.
And I did wrestling, and I did track, and I did football, and I did soccer. Oh my god,
horn.
there's nothing I didn't do. Just
not to toot my own horn, but I am also a semi-professional bowler. So
there it is.
I can throw my hat in the ring.
Go sports.
But anyway, go sports.
Then screw it. I'm a professional forklifter. That fork's going straight into my mouth.
Yeah, I was about to say that.
This man.
Yeah.
But yeah, as far as the Super Bowl itself, I mean, the big, at least for me, because I pay attention more so to the political sphere more than the sports. I think the big issue with this, not the big issue, the main topic for the Super Bowl, or at least the big topic outside of the sport itself, was how politically charged people were trying to make the halftime show.
Absolutely.
That's just where we're at right now. I mean, we can all agree we're in a very questionable climate right now, and I think questionable is an understatement.
Yeah, well, talking about making things politically charged, the Trump administration had a whole another section just for white America. They had their own.
Yeah, it's true. The Turning Point USA halftime show that everyone dropped out of.
Sorry, it's Tapusa.
They're a bunch of the pussies, but to grab that concept of let's separate our America, but it's like, okay, hold on.
You're going back. You're literally going back. They literally created the white water fountain and colored water fountains situation.
Yes, exactly that. So the other concept is, and I posted this on my Instagram because I was like, hey, are we still confused at the fact that we're all American? We live in the Americas. We have North America and we have South America. In South America, we have Latino America. And in North America, we have Canada and the United States, all American. The United States were United Statesians. In Canada, in
Canada.
Canada, they're Canadian,
Canada, yeah.
right? But we're all in the Americas. We're all American. United States, United Statesians have an entitlement complex because
Oh,
they try
1
to claim American as being just United States, and more specifically, white American, white
let me.
United Statesian, right?
I'll toss this in here. As gamers, I'm pretty sure we've all referenced like the U.S. region as just North America. Like
Because we have to, right?
Right.
Because there's so much culture everywhere. We understand that we are North America.
It's not, I wouldn't even say the cultural aspect of it. It's just more so when we look at because we look at our, I mean, when we look at servers, it's regional, right?
Correct.
North American server versus South American, EU, so on and so forth. But at the end of the day, when we say, let's use League as an example, since we've all played it. When we look at Worlds, we don't say America's going to Worlds. We say NA is going to Worlds.
Right.
NA is competing.
Correct.
There's no borders with esports, but football or American football, and then just how the political climate is here, it's America, 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 or US, US, US. But but yet the people who are only chanting for the US being the only America in the Americas are those who have either obviously white supremacists,
supremacy,
and then or it's minorities that think they are white because of their because of their status.
Yeah.
And they have like a superiority complex to go with it. And it's kind of sad to see that kind of situation where you have, again, sorry, I'm going a little further down into the rabbit hole, but when you have minority groups who are looking down at other minority groups strictly because of their status, but parents, family, or however they receive their status, they were in that position, but the only difference was when they entered.
Yeah. I will stick I think I will stick by this until obviously someone can provide me something, a different way of thinking about it, and it's something that I agree with. But I think it will always be a class status issue. It's classism because they use race and things like that as a way to weaponize. I'm better than you. It's kind of like saying, "Oh, I just won the race," and someone's like, "Yeah, but you did it in those stupid shoes," right? It's like they are weaponizing anything they can to make you believe that you're not good enough. And I feel like classism is kind of a huge part of that, because you also see that you have people, of the same ethnicity and background shitting on other people of the same ethnicity and background simply because they believe that they are the better version of that ethnicity, race, and background. Ethnicity. And that just comes down to class. But no, I agree. I think with that separation, they definitely created the divide in color. At the water fountain where white people get theirs, everybody else gets gets to use the other one. That's exactly what they did. So, yeah, good analogy there, Kent.
Yeah, the comment, the Facebook comment that I saw was that the same people that needed a different halftime show was this, are the same people that needed a different water fountain.
Correct.
Growing up.
Yeah.
So which is why the Bad Bunny halftime show, what I got out of it was an incredible representation of history of America as it really is, which is built upon the backs of immigrants, really showcasing the lifestyles and the preservation of dignity, I think, which, it's a quote from In the Heights, the Broadway musical, In the Heights, preserving dignity in any which way that they can, being proud of the work, being proud of the American dream, which is essentially you can be self-made here. And I think the Bad Bunny halftime show really showcased that.
What? No, 100%. If anything, when he started listing off the countries from south to north, that in itself I mean, again, there was the claim that this was going to be politically charged. The fact that you have the same group of people who decided to have their own show say, "Oh, it's going to be such a bad show. It's not from an American because he's Puerto Rican." Oh, I mean, we can tell me you don't know about territories without telling me. Or,
Yeah, well,
but
Tell me you were educated in America without
But I
telling me.
think that goes to my point earlier about how United Statesians have entitlement complex because they really believe America is limited to just the United States. That's what that comment is about. It's an uneducated human, right? It's like Bad Bunny's halftime show was literally all about unity, right? That's what it's about. But again, United Statesians have this entitlement complex where they really believe that America is limited to just United States, right? We have North America, which is United States and Canada, and I think Greenland. And then you have Latin America, or sorry, South America, which is all of Latin America. That includes Brazil, Uruguay, Mexico, Chile, all the way down to Argentina. And again, entitled United Statesians really believe America is just United States. And so it's why they feel ownership. Obviously, they've colonized a whole bunch of everything. Sorry, not they, because technically we're all United Statesians here. But our country has colonized a whole bunch of different things. But we have again racism very much alive and well still, and I think it's important to keep a tab on that whenever someone says things like those, because obviously it's not true, right? He's not a fake American. He's an American. Um, Keep tab on that because the folks that echo that are the ones who believe in the shitty things that we are against, right? We have someone on one side with promoting a message of unity. Um, we're all Americans, and we have a ton of culture in America, the Americas, right? All of the Americas. We have a ton of culture. A lot of different people live here. And then we have the divisive folks who are, no, he is not a real American. We're the Americans. And they're trying to, again, proclaim that United Statesians, most specifically the white United Statesians, are the only Americans. Caca and eagle and United States flag flying around kind of ordeal. But yeah.
I do want to throw this out there just because this was very recent, like last week kind of thing. I was speaking, so long story short, I spoke to a Filipino guy.
Another one? No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, that's not me. What?
Look. Yeah.
This is where Ken just repeats a conversation we had last week.
It would be fair too. But it was an older Filipino guy. Dude was in his 60s. And long story short, I had to bring my aunt and uncle to the airport because they were going out. They were flying out for a trip. And what's it called? An older Filipino gentleman who was living in the same complex as my mom comes out and says, "Oh, nice to meet you." Starts giving me a little bit of a background, a bit of his background, and he's like, "Oh, is that your car?" So he points to my car. He's like, "Oh, you really?" So TLDR, drive a Tesla, and no, I'm not a fan of Elon. This whole thing was bought before I saw the salute, but he thought he's like, "Oh, so you like Elon because of your car?" I'm like, "No, I think he's a piece of shit." And he's like, "Oh, that's unfortunate. I'm a very big Trump supporter. I managed to get my dream car recently." He points to his like jacket, which says Corvette. And in my mind, I'm like, okay, you're 60 years old. You've been in the country for 40 years. You immigrated here looking for a better life. But you're a very big Trump supporter trying to deny everyone else that opportunity you were given. Like, make this help me make this make sense.
Well, a lot of people close the door behind them.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
And the shit, this is the one part I tend to tell everyone or repeat because I don't think I don't know how common it is for people to know. Entering the U.S. before 9/11 was infinitely easier to enter. So, having to see that type of personality, that type of or someone of color with that type of belief, it's gross. And I mean, being half Filipino, for simplicity's sake, you can't seeing you say you have kids, you got a home, you got everything, but here you are, like you mentioned, they're trying to close the door, and it's at the expense of everyone else.
Usually is, yeah.
So sorry, a bit of a what's it called, side topic or
Don't be
side
sorry.
note.
It's totally on topic. Totally on topic. But
Yep.
it
And
seems like we are on time. So Milo, I'm gonna what is it? Lean on you to close us out.
yeah, so clearly we have a lot of opinions. Clearly we have a lot to talk about, and clearly um, we need to go back to job applications. So same time next week, unless someone has a job interview.
I
See you later.
love that. That's that's awesome. All right.
Oh,
If anybody that isn't us is watching the show, thank you guys so much for watching. We'll be back next week, Monday, 12 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. That's 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Um, any closing comments, Kent, that where you can keep it brief?
sure. I got an interview. No, I'm joking. I'm joking.
Yikes. All right, everybody. Well, thank you guys all so much for joining. We'll be back next week. Once again, that'll be on Monday at noon Pacific Standard Time, which is Monday, 3 p.m. Eastern Time if you guys are watching from the East Coast. Thank you all so much for watching. It's been a pleasure, Milo and Ken, to just kind of sit and chat. What is it? AI, unemployment, Super Bowl, and everything in and in between that matters to us. Thank you all. Thank you all for being here. See you guys on the next broadcast.